What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the worst of the worst of the worst products that I tried in 2024. I do this every year, and recently I started doing these videos quarterly to make it a little bit easier on myself, because at the end of the year it was always so hard to have to look through every single video that I've ever done to try to find and pick out the worst products. So instead I do these quarterly. So I did one in March, one in June, one in September, and then this is the final one. So I only had to go back and really look at 3 videos, and I'm not going to talk about every single product and go over and rehash what I said in all of those. What I decided to do this time is just pick the worst of the worst from those 3 videos. So these are like the ones for me that had no redeeming qualities whatsoever, that I'm never planning on trying or using again. And I know for most of you this goes without saying, but I always get comments on these videos saying, you know,
this is my favorite product, why are you trashing it? Maybe you're not using it right.
You know, at the end of the day, we all have different preferences, and if you like some of these, I'm glad. Honestly, I wish they worked for me, because then I wouldn't have wasted my money. Believe me, I am not the be-all end-all of makeup reviewers, so if you disagree with me, that is totally fine. Please don't come for me in the comments. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. First up, before we start, I just want to share my Shop My Stash item for today. And again, if you're just tuning in, I decided to make my own advent calendar this year using products from my collection. So I asked my son to come in here and just pick out 24 random things. And today he ended up picking the Christian Dior foundation stick. So this is in the shade 2CR. I do think it's a pretty decent match for me. It might be slightly too peachy, but I was really happy to see this in here. I've been wanting to play with it again, and I find that I just keep reaching for the same old few foundations over and over again. So I'm glad that I got a chance to try it, and I do really like it. I think it has a beautiful finish on my skin. So I just wanted to mention that really quickly. And also, if you watched my last video where I tried out the new CoverGirl Skin Enhancer sticks, I'm wearing the purple one today. I told you guys I would wear it in a video, and I think it is beautiful. It comes across as just a really nice cool tone pink on me. It doesn't actually look purple, so it's gorgeous. I just wanted to share that really quick. All right, so let's not go off on too much of a tangent. Let's get into the worst products. So number 1, this was one product that I actually didn't talk about in any of my videos, but I have a bin kind of over here to the side where I keep all of like the worst products together so I can find them easily. And this was sitting in there, and I saw it and I was like, oh, I never talked about it, but I really should. And it's the CoverGirl Eye Enhancer Quad in the shade Bellini Spritz. And honestly, CoverGirl has been killing it lately, so I was excited to try this. I did like their other quads that they came out with a while ago. I thought the formula was good, and I know that they had these in the past. I just figured maybe they updated the formula along with the packaging, but sadly, I'm pretty sure they just changed the packaging. This type of formula is what gives drugstore eyeshadows a bad name. Like, I'm sorry to say that, but it's chalky, it lacks pigment, it's dusty with a lot of fallout, it's bland, it's blah, it barely shows up even on my pale skin tone. It's pretty awful. Even if you like a really subtle eyeshadow, I just don't feel like this does anything. So again, while I do think CoverGirl has really stepped it up, I like a lot of their products, and I think that their newer quads are good, This was just a complete and total hard pass for me. Next up, when I think of terrible products from 2024, this is one of the first ones that comes to my mind, and it's the Anastasia Beauty Balm stick, or whatever this is. It's not a foundation stick. They make that very clear in the description. Not a foundation. It's supposed to be a skincare and skin tint hybrid. And I honestly can't remember a time when I hated a complexion product more than this one. Like I said, on the website, it claims to blend skincare and makeup into a sheer tint that evens out your complexion, but that was the complete opposite of my experience with this. I thought it made my skin look kind of blotchy and mottled, and it looked streaky whether I applied it with a brush, a sponge, my fingers. It never really dried down, so it just kind of sat on top, feeling all like greasy and oily, and it moved around. If I touched my face at all, it would come off in that spot, and not only did it feel and look kind of greasy, but it looked dry at the same time, which is really an incredible feat. I have to give it to them. I don't know how they did that, but it grabbed to every like flake on my face, every rough patch that I didn't even know I had. And I've seen some reviewers say that this is actually meant to be applied as skincare. So you just wash your face and then put this on. Like supposedly this formula doesn't play well with skincare, and that's why people were having issues with it. And to be completely honest, I haven't tried it that way. So maybe that is true. Maybe I would like it better. But at the same time, I have really dry skin, and I just don't feel like this would be enough moisture. Like I can't just put this on after cleansing my face. I need to do like all my steps that I normally do. I wouldn't want to forego skincare just so I could wear this. So this was a product that I just, for the life of me, I couldn't get it to work. And honestly, I don't know who this is really for, because I have dry skin and it felt greasy. So I feel like someone with oily skin would also find this greasy. But at the same time, it also made my skin look dry. It's weird. So I'm curious if there is anyone out there who like truly loves this product. How do you use it? How do you make it work for you? What's your skin type? I'd love to know. Moving on, let's talk about this Milk Makeup Cloud Primer. Milk is another brand I really like, most of their products that I've tried, but it's honestly one of the most useless products I've ever tried, I guess, to put it bluntly. This is a primer that has kind of like a foamy texture. It has one of those little, foamer pumps, and it comes out like this. But when you go to apply it, it feels like it basically turns into water. It's not like the feeling of a toner, like if you put a toner on after cleansing and you feel some moisture from it. This just feels like I'm putting water on my face. It does absolutely nothing. On the website, it claims to hydrate, brighten, and smooth your skin, but I didn't really see any of that. There's no slip to it. It doesn't make my skin feel any smoother. It doesn't like blur my pores or plump up my skin. And if you take a look at the ingredient list, surprise, surprise, the first ingredient is water, followed by a bunch of like floral and fruit extracts. And it does have glycerin way down on the bottom, along with lactic acid and citric acid. And those might offer some mild exfoliation, but the main ingredients are water and floral essences. So to me, that explains why this just feels like applying water to your skin. It really does. And yes, the glycerin and lactic acid are good for your skin, but we don't know what quantity it's in because it's way down near the bottom of the list. I probably could get better results just using my skincare. And somehow this has an almost 5-star rating on the Sephora website. But when I looked a little bit closer at that, I noticed most of them are incentivized reviews, which means they got the product for free. If you sort by the non-incentivized reviews, they're all pretty bad. And I know at least one other person here on YouTube basically felt the same way that I did about this. It was Robert Welsh, and I think he did a whole video on how this product is just completely useless. So please do yourself a favor and just skip this one and save the almost $30 that it costs. It is not worth it. Okay, I know I'm gonna get some flack for this next one because I wanted to say it's a really beloved product, but it is for some people, and then for other people, they feel the way that I do about it. So I guess I should say it's a very polarizing product in 2024, and that's the Tear Red Cushion Compact Foundation. I know a lot of people rave and rave about this, but for me, it was one of the worst foundations I think I've ever tried, except for maybe this one. I saw this all over social media and people were getting this perfectly flawless porcelain doll-like complexion, but that was the opposite of what this did for me. I felt like it aged my skin dramatically. It added like 10 or 20 years when I used this. It's dry, but it somehow feels a little bit greasy, and it's also so full coverage that I have to be really careful to just put the lightest layer I possibly can. And even then, I find that it settles into fine lines, pores, it grabs to every rough patch on my face or any type of imperfection. And another thing I didn't love about it is that it makes my skin look very flat and dull and one-dimensional. Maybe it's because it's so full coverage and I'm used to foundations that let my natural skin peek through a little bit. To me, it almost feels like I'm wearing a mask. So I think on somebody who has a really almost perfect complexion to begin with, if you have really good skin, this might look a lot better on you, but on my 47-year-old face, it just, I don't know, it didn't look good at all. I couldn't make it work no matter what I did, and I tried everything I could think of, but I do like the one that comes in the silver compact. So I'll say that. I think that one is lighter coverage, and it has a little bit more of a natural skin-like finish. It has more glow to it. It's not as matte as this one. So I think that one just looks a lot more natural on my skin, and I do enjoy that one. So this is nothing against Tier. Personally, I love their skincare too, by the way, but I think what it all comes down to is the fact that this particular formula is just not for me. Next up, back in June, I got a really nice PR package from Huda Beauty, and she sent over their faux filler lip glosses. I was so excited to try these. They sounded amazing. They claim to like blur and smooth all of your lip lines, and I have a lot of lines in my lips, so I was hoping for the absolute best with these. They were also supposed to look really glossy on your lips. They sounded great, but I had such a hard time making these look decent on me. They're thick, they're sticky, and instead of smoothing out my lip lines, these almost act like they're making a beeline for my lip lines. They just go right inside of them and make them look worse. It also gathers in like the weirdest areas, and what's on my top lip sticks to what's on my bottom lip. So when I put my lips together or if I talk, I get like those weird strings that go between my lips, and it's not a cute look at all. And the only way that I can get around it really is to apply a super thin layer of these, because again, I think the problem is that these are just too thick. But when you apply a thin layer, you don't get the glossiness that she advertises with these. It actually looks a little bit more like, I don't know, it just ends up looking more dull, plus you don't get as much pigment as you would if you apply the full amount. You have to be really careful and really sheer with them. So this is another formula that actually has an almost 5-star rating on the Sephora website. Again, mostly incentivized, but I will fully admit I got these for free too, and I do not like them, and I'm willing to say that on camera. I just don't think they're worth the money. I like most of Huda's products, but these were a big miss for me. Speaking of lip products, let's chat about the lip balm from Hell. That might sound like I'm being dramatic, but I'm only partially joking. This is the Hello Sunday SPF 50 lip balm, and it's still in the box because I put it back in there after the first time I tried it, and I was planning on returning it. I never got around to doing that, and now I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I was really interested in this lip balm. I bought it back in June, I believe, and we were gonna be going on a bunch of vacations last summer, so I wanted something that would protect my lips because I put SPF everywhere else, so why not? And I'm so glad that I tried this out in a video before I packed it in my suitcase and took it with me, because then I would have been stuck with it. So a lot of you guys might remember that video. I put this on the very first thing, and then I just continued to talk and apply my makeup throughout the video. And during that time, it started to creep into my mouth. It started to get in, and after a while, I started to notice this horrible taste. It was this extremely bitter chemical taste that got so bad I had to like stop the video and take a drink of my Diet Coke that I had sitting there. And even that didn't help. This taste would not leave my mouth. After the video, I went and brushed my teeth. I used mouthwash. I tried so many things, I couldn't get it out. And it got so bad that I even started to feel nauseous after a while. And I can only imagine that it's the taste of the 4 chemical sunscreen filters that are in here. So these are the same filters that they put in sunscreens for your face and body. And those are some of the ones that give sunscreen that like telltale sunscreen smell. So just imagine eating that. That's basically what it tasted like. It was absolutely disgusting. Like I said, I put it right back in the box. Never touched it again. I was planning on returning it to Sephora, but I think then we left on our vacation. I forgot about it. And now it's way past the point where I can do that. But I learned my lesson. From now on, I never buy any SPF lip products that have chemical sunscreens in them. I only use the ones that have mineral sunscreens, so titanium dioxide or zinc oxide. Before I left on my trip, I had purchased the In Beauty Project lip balms, and also e.l.f. had those new ones that they came out with. I think they were called the Sun Boss glosses. Those are great. They don't have any weird smells or anything, so I highly recommend those, but please, please, stay away from this one. Next up, another product still in the box because I meant to return it and I didn't. So this is the Haus Labs Clear Cut Liquid Eyeliner. I bought this because I like Haus Labs. I trust them as a brand. Almost everything I've tried from them has been really good, really high quality. This one just did not work out. I think where they went wrong with this one is they tried to go clean with the formula. The description on the website says instead of using carbon black, they used natural charcoal. But if you've ever seen charcoal, it's not actually black. It's like a dark gray. And that's exactly what this eyeliner looks like when you try to put it on. And believe me, I have nothing against gray eyeliner. If it was just that, I would deal with it because honestly, gray is probably a little bit more natural looking on my skin tone than black is, which can sometimes look a little bit harsh. So I would have been okay with that if it was like a nice, smooth, pigmented gray. But this is so weak and watery and it skips when you go to apply it like it's already half dried out. I had such a hard time using this, I couldn't even get it all the way across my eyelid before I had to stop and shake it like this and make the product come down into the tip so that I could continue the line. I mean, that's crazy. That's what I do with eyeliners that I've had for like a year and they're starting to dry out. And even then, sometimes it didn't even work. I'd have to go back and try to do that again. And the other thing is, if you try to draw this on your hand and apply it this way, like the first time I used it, it actually worked fine. But if you apply it at an angle, that's when the trouble starts. And I could understand that happening with something like a ballpoint pen because you're supposed to hold it down this way. But an eyeliner, they have to know that you're going to be holding it at strange angles. You're not going to apply your eyeliner like this, right? So I felt like it was pretty inexcusable that they didn't solve that issue because there are plenty of liquid eyeliners I've tried that don't do that. So I felt like at $26 for this to be unusable just wasn't right. I have $1 liquid eyeliners from Shop Miss A that work better than this. So just a word of warning, if you had your eye on this, just don't do it. Please, I beg you. And the reviews on Sephora will actually back me up with this one. For the most part, they are not positive. All right, next let's talk about this peel off lip stain from the brand Sashu, or is it Sasho? I never know how to say that, but I saw this all over TikTok. Everybody was using it and it looked so cool. It's a lipstick, or I guess lip stain, that you basically paint on either all over your lips or just outline your lips and it becomes like a stain lip liner. And I was very interested in it. I was almost going to buy it. And then the company reached out to me and asked if they could send it to me. So I said, sure. Big mistake. So what you're supposed to do with this is you just put it all over. You have to use kind of a thick layer and let it set for 20 minutes or so. Now that's actually a really long time. And when you put this on, it takes a while to dry down. And during the drying process, it becomes very sticky. So you have to kind of keep your mouth open at a very like awkward angle to make sure that your lips don't touch each other. And 20 minutes feels like an eternity when you're trying to keep your mouth open like that. And then once it dries, you're supposed to be able to just peel it right off and it leaves a lip stain behind, which in theory sounds really good. But I had a couple of issues with this. The first one is just the time it takes. I felt like I didn't want to use this because if I'm in a hurry trying to get ready, I don't have 20 minutes to spend on my lips and kind of sitting there like keeping my mouth hanging open. That's number one. Number two, when I watched people using this on social media, they would just like peel the whole thing off in one big peel. That did not happen for me. No matter how much I applied, I tried doing like thinner layers, thicker layers, it just didn't work. When I did it, I was like digging with my nail to try to get the corner up to start peeling it in the first place. And then as I started peeling, it kept breaking off in these little chunks. And it would just pull and tug at my lips. And if there's any dryness whatsoever, it's gonna cling to that and then pull the skin off of your lip with it. This happened to me, and I actually had a sore spot on my bottom lip where it just took the skin right off. And yes, it did leave a stain, but I felt like the stain was a little uneven, kind of patchy. It didn't last as long as I was hoping it would either. So I think this is just one of those viral products that doesn't live up to the hype. And I do also feel like it could be deceptive in the way that some of these influencers are marketing this, because like I mentioned before when I was talking about the Huda Beauty glosses, I have a lot of lines in my lips, and when you put on something like this, I feel like maybe it kind of sank into those lines, which is the reason why I had so much trouble peeling it off. But I thought back, and a lot of the people that I saw using this had lip filler. Now, lip filler makes your lips really smooth. It looks like they have no lines at all, and it stands to reason that if you are gonna peel something off of a really smooth surface, it's gonna come off a lot easier than on a surface that has little crevices. So I do think that's one of the things you have to take note of when you're watching reviews, because products can certainly work a little bit better on anybody that's had certain enhancements, I think. All right, so those were all the products from March, June, and September. I also had two things that I tried from September until now that I also just felt like they fell really flat for me. The first one is the Wet n Wild Hello Kitty palette, and this is the purple one. It's called Big Smile. I bought this at Walgreens and I thought it looked so beautiful. I love purple eyeshadow, but this was such a big letdown. Yes, it is a pastel palette, so I know going into it that it's not gonna be super pigmented, but this was almost like a joke. When I swatched it out, so many of the shades barely showed up on me, and I'm pretty fair-skinned, so if they don't show up on me, I felt like who are they gonna show up on? And I also found the formula to be kind of lacking. It was really powdery, it was really dusty. The glitters in the formula are also super chunky. One of them is almost like a craft glitter in a Vaseline-like base, and then the other one has no base at all. So it just completely falls apart when you try to swatch it and goes everywhere. So I personally don't think that I'll ever reach for this palette again. It just didn't do anything for me. It might be a personal preference thing, but I also just didn't feel like the formula was the same as Wet n Wild's normal formula. It just was lacking in so many ways. All right, this next one made me kind of sad because I really love Moira, but I just could not get behind their new shadow sticks. These are called the Stellar Glaze eyeshadow stick. They sent these to me in PR also, and I have to say I love Moira. Their products rarely let me down. This was one of the very few that has. When I first got them and I swatched them, they actually were really exciting for me. I thought they looked beautiful. They swatched great. I loved that they had this duochrome finish. They were really sparkly and they looked like they would make a big impact on my eyes. But unfortunately, they just didn't perform the way that I was hoping they would. When I put them on and tried to blend them, they created those like bald patches every place I put my finger. They just started lifting off, and then I couldn't get them to go back in that spot. They just wouldn't stick there anymore. And so the end result ended up looking super patchy and really uneven, and they also didn't wear very evenly, and they settled into my crease. And by the end of the night, I ended up with glitter everywhere. There was like glitter over at the outer corner here, the inner corner, some on my cheeks. They were just really messy. So I just didn't love this formula. And it's funny because I was just watching one of Tati's recent videos, and she was testing these out for the first time, and the same thing happened to her. So I was like, okay, I don't feel too bad. Again, I saw people like over on TikTok using these, and it looked really good on them. And I'm like, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Like, I must be missing something. But even though my video was a first impression, I have tried them again many times since then, and I just cannot get them to work no matter what I do. I've tried not touching them, but I feel like with the formula like this, you have to blend it at least somewhat. You can't just draw it on your eye and leave it it there because it looks unfinished and it has like a very obvious edge to it. So I tried like just blending the edge, but I still feel like they just end up looking patchy no matter what I do, and they still crease. So I've basically just written these off as one of those things I'm just never going to like, unfortunately. All right, guys, so that is my worst of the worst of 2024. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it wasn't too negative. I know it is important to share the negative along with the positive, and I generally like a good majority of the things that I try out. And, you know, compared to all of the things I tried on my channel this year, which had to be in the hundreds of products, this is a really small sampling of things that were just truly terrible. So I think as a whole, makeup is just getting better and better with time. And I find that there are a lot less like true fails than there were in the past. So anyway, I'd love to hear from you guys. If you have any experience with these products, let me know what you thought. And if you actually like some of these, again, let us know like how you use them, or maybe if you have some tips and tricks that would make them better. I am all ears. So thank you all so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. I truly appreciate it. And if you have some extra time and you'd like to see what my absolute favorite complexion products were of 2024, I'll put that video right up here. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in my next one. Take care, guys. Bye.